Episode 225 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought. Sorry, you couldn't hear me, folks. I apologize. But Crown's Way Racing, you can start at a $500 amount. They have no monthly bills whatsoever, a flat 10% commission rate. There is no maintenance, and there is also no purchase fees as well. You have paddock and winner circle access with Crowns Way Racing. They scored over 17% win in 2022, over 55% in the money in the last 2 years as well. Their trainers are Carlos Silva and Kelsey Danner, two excellent trainers with claimers and with their 2-year-olds as well. And they're one of the cleanest trainers in racing. Crowns Way will race their horses in the Mid-Atlantic, in Florida, Louisiana, and the Midwest as well. And their most famous previous success they've had is a turf sprinter called Smokin' Jay, which is a horse you might know who raced in a Grade 1 last year on Belmont Stakes Day. Also, Otago and Richie. This is an excellent syndicate to get involved with. There's the information below the video player for Crowns Way Racing. Get in touch with Anthony Rollo at crownswayracing.com. He is the managing partner. You can follow them at on Twitter at Crownsway Racing, a fantastic new sponsor of the show. And now, let's start episode 225 of the HHH Racing Podcast.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to episode 225 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Sorry about that little tech issue there at the beginning of the show as we introduce our fantastic new sponsors, Crowns Way Racing. We are here tonight to talk about the Pegasus races, the last 3 races on Saturday. You've got huge races, $1 million, $3 million, just huge purses abound. It's the Pegasus Filly Mare Turf Invitational, the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, and then, of course, the big one, the Pegasus World Cup Invitational on dirt. Thanks for joining the show tonight. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. After you do that, hit that like button. Smash that like button. We want to get 100 likes or more for tonight's show. Also, please hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arrive. What new content? Big new content came out today. I'm going to go ahead and show it to everyone. If you're not familiar, let me go ahead and actually bring up right now our YouTube channel. I did tweet this out. We had a fantastic interview with Todd Pletcher. If you scroll below down the video player, there it is, episode 224. Todd Pletcher, we had the chance to interview for approximately half an hour yesterday. He talked about his Pegasus horses for Saturday, his 3-year-olds, and also the Eclipse nominees as well. My wonderful co-host Paul Halloran joined me, award-winning journalist from the Saratoga Special. Please check out the Todd Pletcher video. It is one you do not want to miss. You can follow me on Twitter at @HKravitz, and then at the bottom of the screen you can reach me through email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Also, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. The Power Picks. If you have not subscribed to the Power Picks, now is the time. They're only $4 every Saturday. That's it. Only $4, and we have a blowout edition this Saturday. A full card coverage of the races at Gulfstream, detailed analysis of the last 3 races as well. Many other spot plays, price plays, ABC grids. It is a fantastic tip sheet if you're not familiar with it. It hit it over 259 in 2022. Look below the video player for all the information on how you can sign up through Patreon. And of course, we have a fantastic website as well, hhhracingpodcast.com. Check that out. Final promo for this evening. Show it on the screen right now. We are going to be live at the Crazy Poor OTB this Saturday. Myself, Matt Miller, and Kyle Roscoe. It's going to be live on YouTube. You see the times on there. That's the time at the OTB. But we are actually going to be live, ladies and gentlemen, at 3:45 Eastern. Again, 3:45 Eastern. It's on our YouTube channel already. This Saturday, live analysis and live reaction of the last 3 races on Saturday. We had a fantastic time at the Crazy Poor OTB on Travers Day last summer. Huge profit as well. I'm really excited for that show. All right, I think that takes care of everything. A lot of things to take care of here tonight. Let's jump right in. Let me bring in my fantastic co-host. Got a minor lineup change tonight, as we talked about last night. First, from the Saratoga Special, award-winning journalist, and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran, and formerly the Prince of Arlington, and now the host of Bettin and Boozin, and they have a show tonight, by the way, at 9 p.m. to talk about the NFL championship games. Mr. Kyle Roscoe, gentlemen, welcome to the show tonight. I am stoked. I am pumped. Huge races this Saturday, guys.
Oh yeah, bringing and just after a long hiatus of really good, really nice racing since the Breeders' Cup, this is the first day where horse players really get to sink their teeth into. So it should be a good weekend.
Paul, we got 3 big races, the biggest racing weekend, biggest race day of the year so far in 2023, and probably will be the biggest day until maybe the final Derby preps. I'm sure you're excited, and no worries about any weather. It's gonna be sunny. It's gonna be a little cloudy, but no rain. It's gonna be firm turf. It's gonna be fast dirt. I'm always happy when I see that.
I'm more concerned with the weather at Gulfstream next weekend, Howard, because this is all about me.
And of course. And you're going to be there, of course, next weekend.
Right.
That's why. Right, of course.
But I'd like it to be nice this weekend, too.
Nah, for sure. These 3 races, guys, that we're talking about, I mean, whoa. I almost said full fields. We have some major changes we got to talk about right off the bat. But big fields, very competitive races, guys. I have some cheeky price play opinions. I am not a fan of some of the favorites. And there's a horse in this first race 11, that we're going to talk about that I sent flowers, I've sent chocolates, I've sent peppermints to her. I don't love her quite as much now because of a scratch that I think hurts her a bit. But we will talk about her in just a minute. Guys, we have a lot of people watching. Let's hit some comments here. Michael Osen. Michael, thanks for joining the show. Hello. He had a vision, by the way, a Ladies Spite Spear. Ooh, Ladies Spite Spear defunded double. Michael, that would pay. That actually almost any double is going to pay because those last 2 races are difficult. Ralph Conti. Ralph, how you doing? He says hello. Penn State Scott. Good evening, boys. Winged horse weekend is approaching, absolutely, with the Pegasus. Deanne, hello. Nick Feldman back again. Kyle, Paul, Howard, drink of choice tonight. I'm
Great.
going with my water. Paul, what do you got?
Oh, I don't know if it meant tonight or in general. In my
Oh.
adult beverage of choice is vodka and grapefruit juice.
Ooh,
Uh,
that's a
tonight,
good one.
tonight I'm drinking water.
Okay, I've got water. Nick, I'm pretty much a beer guy. I'm boring. I like Corona, a good Killian's. I don't mind. Good, a good amber beer. Kyle, are you waiting for your own show to drink? I mean, you can't. You might want to pace yourself tonight, Kyle.
Hey, if it only gets better, if I keep going through drinks, it might get better. But no, margarita is always my drink of choice, hard liquor wise.
Right.
But I love beer, guys. I'm a beer guy for sure.
All right. Let's see. And then of course, Paul. I know. Sorry, Paul. Christine Race. Greetings, horse players. Looking forward to this weekend, Christine. Thanks for joining the show. All right, guys, we're gonna have a huge audience. Please make sure, if you're watching live, you comment on the right side of the screen in the live chat. We want to bring a lot of comments on tonight. If you have friends that enjoy horse racing or betting this Saturday and they do not know about this show right now, call them up. Call them, text them, whatever you got to do. Tweet them. HHH Racing Podcast on YouTube. Let's get a huge audience tonight. And if you're watching this as a replay or you're watching this as on an audio platform later, thanks for watching and listening. Please comment down below the video player after the show is over if you are listening on a audio platform. We'd love to hear your opinions. James Green, do we have any doubles?
Oh.
Does the sun shine? Does the sun rise in the east? Could Michael Jordan jump? James, what are you talking about? Of course we've got doubles. We'll be talking about. James wants to jump in.
That's right.
James, we're getting there, buddy. Right now, we're getting there. All right, guys. The natives are getting restless. Let's jump right in, Paul. And I got a little special banner, of course, for these three races, guys. The first race we're going to talk about right there. Boom. This is the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. It is a grade 3. Let me switch some banners here around. Let me put our banners up for our top 3. Again, this is the first time that Paul and Kyle will see the top 3. See our top 3 picks on the bottom of the screen. And the time of this race, I got to switch back here. The time is about 4:06 Eastern is when race 11 will start. Now, guys, there's some big scratches. Let's put us on the screen a little bit here. Big scratches we want to talk about first. First of all, in race 10, which of course is not, we're not discussing this tonight. Race 10, Paul, we talked about last night. It's the Hooper. The number 5, Hoist the Gold, is out. Paul, we're not going to talk in detail, but that does change that race. That was the class of the field. And I don't know if it changes the pace perspective, Paul, but that definitely will lower some odds, some morning line odds for sure.
Now, Howard, did that mean they think he's going to draw into the Pegasus? Because he's the first AE into the Pegasus.
Well, only if someone scratches out of the Pegasus. So
yeah, but they wouldn't have, they didn't scratch him out of both tonight. They just scratched him out of the turf race.
Well, because they're waiting to see if someone scratches out of the Pegasus.
Right.
I mean, they could enter him. I'd be shocked, Paul and Kyle, if they scratched him out of the Hooper, hoping to get into the Pegasus. I mean, he's really a sprinter, Kyle. Hoist the Gold. That would I'm guessing. I don't know what to think. I'll have to read about it, but I'm guessing he just won't run it all this weekend. Kyle.
Yeah, I think that's a good guess. My point is, why wouldn't they? I mean, he is a dirt horse, and they scratched him out of a turf race.
Well,
the Hoop
well,
is
maybe
race.
they're hoping to get into the Pegasus.
I'm just saying, if he were hurt or something, they would have scratched him out of both.
Fair enough. Kyle, any quick thoughts before we get into this race we want to talk about?
Actually, if you look at the Pegasus now, he is scratched out of both. So that's actually he is. But okay, with your original point, Howard, I mean, I agree. That's the reason I didn't actually pick him on top in the Hooper, because I thought he was more of a 6 furlong, 7 furlong sprinter type that he wouldn't give the mile. But yeah, he is scratched out of both.
Great, Paul. If you could just move your camera down just slightly, there we go. We want to see your lovely.
You want to see my Gulfstream Park pole?
I like it. You got that. We want to see the whole thing. Thanks. All right. Guys, here we go. Filly and Mare Turf. This is race 11. This starts the late pick 3 on Saturday. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are some scratches, and depending on when you hear this or listen to this, you already know this, right? The number 5, Mona Stella, is out. The number 5 is out. The number 10, Bay Storm, who was absolutely a pace factor, and I believe it was Dettori was going to be up. is out. And then number 11, Persevancia. The number 11, Persevancia, is out. Again, 5, 10, 11, gentlemen, are out. Before we get to the PPs, Paul, with the 10 out, how much do you think that changes the race from a pace complexion?
Well, we talked just before coming on, Howard. It changes it certainly enough to help Dalika in the 2, doesn't it? And actually, Howard, the 5 had a little early foot too, so I think it changes it a decent amount, especially only a mile and a 16th. Certainly, a race that could be won gate to wire. So I think it is a factor. Yes.
Kyle, how much of a factor with Baystorm? You liked him. We talked before the show. You actually liked her at a little bit of a price too, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the 10-1 was looking real juicy. This is actually the first time I'm going to see the morning lines too. So that 10-1 was looking really good. But yeah, it definitely helps, especially like you said, Dalika on the inside, and being that Gulfstream. If you've watched Gulfstream at all in the past, 3-4 weeks, speed has been holding there. So without a lot of pace pressure, it definitely helps the horses up front.
Paul, there's a question from Faya in the chat that you can answer in the chat if you'd like, Paul. I'm not going to, I want to talk about the races here, but it's a good question from Faya, Paul, when I'm talking to Kyle, or if you have a second, if you want to quick answer that. All right, let's show the PPs, guys, right now. Let me bring it up. Here we go. All right, here are the PPs for race 11. Let me make this a little bigger so we can see it bigger. You see our choices on the bottom of the screen. Paul, we're going to go to you first. Paul, you're going 3-9-2. You're going with a very nice horse for Bill Mott, 5-1 morning line. I've got to believe all the morning lines, Paul. Well, the morning lines aren't going to change, but the odds will all now drop a little bit, at least with Baystorm out. I would say slightly. So let's say Wakanaka's 4-1 morning line. Just making that up. What do you like about this horse? This is Bill Mott, Joel Rosario.
Well, what I like, Howard, is after the first race in the U.S., which was at Gulfstream, which he did not run, if you throw out the Woodbine Mile, which was against the boys, this horse is very, very consistent. And if you look at her, the company she has kept, Modern Games, Regal Glory, in Italian, all of which would be 3-5 or lower in this race. So, I think that I don't think the scratches help her. I think she's more of a come from behind horse, so that's a little bit of a negative. But I think she promises to get a pretty decent trip toward the inside with Rosario. And I think if she gets some, I look at her being kind of a, mid-packish with some pace to run into. And the only other thing I would say, Howard, is the 6 is a horse who I had as a C, but I do think the 6 benefits from those scratches as well.
No question that there's no doubt that Queen Goddess, and I didn't have this horse anywhere. I might need to reconsider that. I don't have her in my top 3, but the scratch of Baystorm, again, there's no reason to bring up Baystorm because the PPs are wiped out, but Baystorm was sort of a sprinty type, trying to stretch out, did stretch out last time with the Tory from the outside. She was going for sure. So that does change things. I think Queen Goddess is definitely a factor. Kyle, you have this horse 3rd. Paul, let's talk about let's talk about Shantasara. Now, I have a pretty strong opinion on this horse. I want to say to everyone who's watching live and replays, we've had Chad Brown on the show now. We've had Todd Pletcher on the show. A few people have asked me, guys, already, have I gotten contact with Chad about Shantasara? The answer is no. I'm not going to bother, Chad or Todd about their horses unless they want to come on to the show. They got plenty of other things to do. So I do not have inside intel on Shantasara. Before I give my sort of theory, Paul, tell me what you think about this very talented horse. She's 9-5 morning line.
Yeah, I handicapped obviously without the morning lines as you did. I thought she'd be the favorite. I didn't think this low. She really did not run well in what was a Breeders' Cup undercard race. And I believe, Howard, when we talked to Chad, wasn't he talking about sending this horse out west for one of the races out there? I'm pretty sure he was and didn't. But
I don't recall. I'd have to listen back to the interview. I suppose I should.
I know he mentioned, he definitely mentioned the horse.
Okay.
But anyway, Yeah, I mean,
So you're saying that'd
I
be a
have.
negative then, Paul, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, I'm saying, there'd be a reason that he didn't send her out there. But,
Sure.
we talked about him last night, with these layoff horses. The numbers are just so good. This is it's the upset here is that in a turf stakes for fillies and mares, he only has one in the race. And I don't think he has any in the other turf race. But, I mean, she's an A for me. Would I line up to better at 9-5 flat? No, but I mean, I do have her as an A in my pick 5.
Okay. And then Kyle, let's get to you. You've got Wakanaka on top. I'll give my opinions after you guys talk here. By the way, I want to say this publicly. There might be some people watching that might not be familiar with Kyle. Kyle's an excellent tout, an excellent tipster. He spent many years at Arlington Park as a professor. Those are people that help others read the program, give out picks and opinions. So if you're not familiar with Kyle, he does a great job. We have a show at 9:00 called Bettin and Boozin, where it involves NFL and other sports betting and horse racing. So Kyle, I know obviously you're not new to the show, but you might be new to some people watching tonight. So I just wanted a little bit about yourself. Kyle, let's talk about the number 2, Delika. You've Delika second. This was a big play against for me until the 10 scratched. Now I'm reconsidering. Really, it's her and the 6 are the main speeds, and we know what happens. One might not go, one may go. This is a very nice horse.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said at the start of the show, is if you've been watching Gulfstream these last 3 or 4 weeks, if you get a horse anywhere near the lead towards the top of the stretch, they are likely to hold, especially on the firm ground that's going to be there on Saturday. And like you said, with the scratch of the 10, you only realistically can upgrade a horse like Delika, who minus that one horse, that one race at Keeneland, which is the same race that Wakanaka and Shantasara came out of on the Breeders' Cup undercard. This horse has really done absolutely nothing wrong her last 3 races, like in the Beverly D, Shudder, as my Arlington Jeans will at Churchill. She ran into a really hot pace that day and still ended up coming on top with Brian Hernandez Jr. up, and comes back at Churchill again. Again, we all know how the Churchill turf is, but it's again playing really firm, and then comes back on Gulfstream on Saturday, which is going to be just as firm as well, and without that pace pressure to her outside. Granted, the 6 will be there, but the 10 will not. I like this horse, and especially with the 6 as well, to stay in there as it has seemed these last few weeks at Gulfstream Park.
Guys, I had really, really, really strong opinions with Baystorm in the race. Now I just have strong opinions. Let me talk. You see at the bottom. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta go full screen here. I love a horse so much in this race, I can't begin to tell you. And again, I will preface by saying I loved her a little bit more with more pace in the race. I think number 7, Lady Rockstar, is a serious player in this race. I think she's got a big shot. I have already placed a win bet through my friend Davey Lane in the anti-post betting in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, I got 10-1 on Lady Rockstar, and I didn't put the house on her, but I like her a lot. I know for a fact she's going to be less than 10-1 on the day. Let me tell you why I like Lady Rockstar in this race. Lady Rockstar is the number 7. Several reasons. First of all, she's going to be a decent price in this race. There's just too many. With Delika and Shantasara, she's going to be at the minimum 3rd choice in this race. Last time, she's an improving 5-year-old. I love the breeding. She hadn't raced in several months, and she ran huge in this race in the Swanee River. Now, this race was won by Stolen Holiday. Paul, we talked about this race actually on the show. Lady Rockstar is the 10, and she gets the kind of trip, guys, that I talked about with value engineering last night. She is wide. She breaks fine. She actually didn't break great, but she breaks fine. But guys, she's wide. See on the first turn here, this is no bueno, guys. I don't care who you are. This is not good. By the way, the winner is right here next to her. There aren't any kind of weird, trips other than she was 4 wide. Now she's a legit 3 wide all the way into this turn. into a decent pace. They weren't flying. You see she's 3 wide. She gets a clean trip, guys. There's nothing to show in terms of studies or anything here. But now, let me freeze it. She's right here in the gray. Again, no cover. And she's a Euro, guys. You know the Euros like to, get covered up. She's again in the 3 path. She's wide as wide can be. Now she's in the 4 path. Now she's in the angled out to the 5-6 path. Guys, she's right here. As a handicapper, if I don't know anything about this horse, 3 wide, 4 3 wide first turn, 3 4 5 wide second turn, into not, you see the pace here, 47. That's okay. I would say at this point, if she finishes 4th by 4 or 5, it's not a bad effort. She stays on, guys. She stays on. She switches leads on cue. She'll switch about mid-stretch. She switches leads. Here's the winner, and she fights. She does not win this race, no question about it, but I like the fight here. I think this is a much, much better effort than it looks. Only loses by a length plus, guys. She got a 94 buyer in this race. I think she's going to improve. I think she has enough tactical speed to be somewhat in the game. I love her. I think she can go up to a high 90s buyer at a decent price and score for me on many, many ways. Now, I will say this, and you guys got to give me a minute. Let Shantasara. Here's my feeling, guys, on Shantasara, okay? And Paul, I sort of agree with you because this is what you were getting at. She ran 2 monster races at Keeneland, right? Monster. That was on good and yielding. Do we know, gentlemen, for sure that she wants it really firm? That's number 1. Number 2, she's never been a Gulfstream. Number 3, layoff since April, right, Paul? Runs a bad race, now a layoff again for several months, and she's going to be like 7-5, Paul? I'm sorry, not for me. If she wins, Kyle, I'll tip my cap to Chad Brown and say, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm using Shantasara. Paul and Kyle, I'm against. Any thoughts on either of those two before I touch on Wakanaka and then we'll move on?
Absolutely agree with you because that's exactly why I didn't even have her in my top 3. I even think she might even, granted she ran 2 good races at a mile and a 16th, but I even she might want longer. She might want cut in the ground. And again, like you said, at 7-5, that's just not something I'm willing to take a part in.
Paul, now you've got this horse, Paul, second. Is this an A, Shantasara? How do you feel about any comments I made? Am I just spitballing and not making sense?
No, I think you make good points on the 7. It's a good race, and it's 6-1. The morning line is 6-1, and I agree with you. I don't see the 7 going below that. Certainly not below 5. And as I said when you asked me earlier, I'm not betting a nickel on Shantasara in the win pool. However, this is not a killer race, folks. Okay,
no.
And it really isn't. I will have Shantasara as an A because I just think the field is, and I'll tell you this about Delika. She's a tough cookie. She does not, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't give it up easily. Look at the Beverly D.
Has Princess Grace gone by Delika yet, Paul? You know I love Princess Grace, right?
But I mean, look at the Beverly D that used to be running your neighborhood till Churchill Downs executed the track. Loses the lead, comes back. The Princess Grace twice in a row, Howard. Princess Grace got nabbed. But I'm just saying, she's a tough cookie. But I do not think this race it's 500,000. It's not like the others. But I don't think it came up. If it had come up tougher, i.e. the male version of this race, which I think is more competitive, I probably would have had Shantasara ranked a little lower. But she's going to be an A for me. I'm not. If I'm going in, I'm not getting beat by him.
She's a B for me, just for the record. But I mean, when you have a horse that's 7-5, if she's not an A, you're against her. Real quick, my opinions, guys, on Delika and Wakanaka, and then we'll move on. Isn't Delika a need the lead type? And she's never raced a Gulfstream. Obviously, she can win. If Queen Goddess goes, that's going to be a problem for Delika. I know she's game, guys, but I'm not completely sold. I don't think those races that she won were that difficult. Not saying this race is overly difficult either, but I don't know. I wouldn't take too low a price on Delika. She's a B for me. She might be an A. I've got to see how the track plays. Wakanaka. This is a horse I've bet a lot, guys, and this is the last thing we'll say and move on. Her two best races in general were Woodbine, okay, and Belmont. Anyone know where I'm going with this? This race is on the inner turf, like the inner portion of the turf course, guys. That's a very tight turn, Kyle, at Gulfstream. She might be more that sort of grindy, long, like would love like an Arlington back in the day, like these long stretches, Paul. I'm not so sure this track is going to suit Wakanaka. I know she's run at Gulfstream before, and I'm not saying she can't win. I'm slightly concerned about the configuration. Paul and Kyle, any thoughts on either of those two comments, then we'll move on.
No, I mean, that's completely fair because, I mean, like you said, you can see Keeneland, Woodbine, Belmont, the big sweeping turn, obviously, of that everyone knows from Belmont, and then obviously Woodbine with their weird configuration. The point's definitely taken there. I'm just hoping that, especially like Keeneland, that last race, and that Gulfstream, like you said, that Gulfstream race wasn't against anyone that, insane, but I'm hoping that she can kind of make the wide sweeping move in the turn that I love to see, and hopefully can nab them at the end.
And Michael, I agree with you. He said Chantasara runs back to a lot of those races. It's over. I have to use it defensively. Chantasara could win this by 3, guys, and I wouldn't be surprised. I just, from a betting standpoint, we didn't even mention, by the way, isn't Artie's Princess supposed to go from the inside? I mean, this is a sprinter with Jose Ortiz. Look at the fraction she's been involved with. This is sort of the fly in the ointment to me of Delika, not Delika. I'm sorry, of Delika also. I'm going to watch the rail, Paul, right at the break. That could be a major factor in this race, not from the win end, but from a pace perspective.
Yeah, she could, but other than that, it's Queen Goddess, or that's right. Delika. It's not. There's not going to be 5 or 6 horses contending for the lead here.
Yeah.
No.
So, and if the one really runs like a sprinter and just clears out of there, I think Hernandez would be content just to sit on the rail and stalk from there. So I think Delika sits a pretty good trip. And, my feeling on Wakanaka, Howard, is similar to Chantasara. She just might be better than a lot of these horses based on the company she's kept.
Last comment from this race. Matt Miller, who is BCBC champion 2021, an excellent handicapper, and even better money manager. He thinks Delika is going right to the lead, and that's that. It's that simple for him. Not sure it's going to be any more complicated, difficult to find a winner. Maybe Chantasara runs her down, but I really like her. Matt, I'm not going to completely disagree with you. I think I have to see how the track plays a little bit. Delika, if she doesn't get the lead, she doesn't win. And even if she gets the lead, she's been beating Princess Grace, who's been a little disappointed. Like some of those Midwest fields, Kyle, I don't know why I have a negative opinion of this horse. It's just a vibe. I don't know. We'll see. It's a great race. Lady Rockstar, if she wins, I'm already going to cash through Davy Lane in Europe. Guys, 10-1. I'll take 10-1 on this horse. And I know she's got to step up, Paul and Kyle. And Chantasara can't, there are factors, right? Delika and Chantasara, can't probably run their best, but I don't see why they won't run a 95, 96. And how far away is Lady Rockstar? Not much to me at all. So Lady Rockstar for me. Let's move on to the next race, guys. We talked a lot about that race, but that's my strongest opinion, literally, of the entire day, is Lady Rockstar in the filly and mare race. Let's go on to the next race, guys. Here we go. Bring it on screen. The next race. This is the Pegasus Turf. It is $1 million. They're going a mile and an eighth. You see the field. There is no scratches. There are a bunch of horses coming out of the race, the prep race, a month ago. And then there are a lot of new shooters. You see the morning line favorite is the number 10, Ivar. Let me go ahead and there's our picks on the bottom of the screen. My top 3 choices, Paul doesn't even have at all in his top 3. And actually, neither does Kyle. So I'm going with 3 horses, ladies and gentlemen, that neither Paul or Kyle have, which either tells you I'm going to be unbelievable or I'm going to be horrible in this race. And it also tells you guys this is a wide open race. Kyle, we're going to let you go first. You're going to go with the 12 City Man. You know how much love I have for the Clements. This horse won last time, but Kyle got a dream trip of a century last time and now has the 12 hole. Tell us what you like about City Man in race 12, the Pegasus Turf Invitational.
For me, I'm hoping that people look at the 12 hole and they say, "Oh, that's horrible. That's not for me." And I can get a little bit more of a price on this horse. Granted, he won the prep, which is the Fort Lauderdale for this race. As Howard said, it brings a lot of these horses into this race.
Let's show the prep, Kyle, because there's a bunch of horses. I didn't mean to cut you off here, but we're not going to, I'll show the first turn and then we'll show the last turn. City Man is the 7. There are a lot of Decorated Vader. You can see on the screen, everyone. Decorated, well, let me go back here. Decorated Vader is the 13. Good Governance, who's also in this race, is the 11. King Cause, whoops, I didn't mean to have that run. King Cause is, I think, also eligible in this race. So the horses coming out of this race you want to watch are the 13, 11, and 7. And we're not going to show the whole race here, but great job by Rosario on the 7. You see those Dan Reeves colors, Paul. He got to the rail and just sat there pretty much the whole time in the pocket, getting a fantastic trip. As we go ahead and fast forward here, Kyle, I'm going to let you take it through. Here's City Man. Good Governance runs a huge race here, the 11. And then Decorated Vader, who actually also crossed over and got a good trip from the 13 hole, is in the West Point Silks. Take it home, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, you can see just him just sitting in the pocket. Rosario's just biding his time. My thing for the top of I'll talk about the start in a little bit, but you can see Rosario just dips to the inside and, like you said, just rides the rail the whole way around. And granted, starts turning the foot there, gets one crack of the whip and just not explodes, but he definitely accelerates through. And like you said, a dream trip, but to win by, a little bit, almost 2, probably 1 3/4 or so. I'm looking that, even though he did get a dream trip, I think that even if he does sit outside, he can still run that about 199 buyer, and that still could be good enough to win this race. But the thing is that, people look at the 12 hole, like I was talking about, you could see that race is going to be the same exact configuration of this race. And you can see that there's a long way to that first turn. So that 12 hole doesn't necessarily concern me too much, as if, this was a mile or a mile and a 16th, where that run to the first turn is so short. So I'm hoping that Rosario, everyone hopes for that perfect trip, but I hope Rosario can use a horse. This horse has a lot of tactical speed. Hopefully he can get somewhere in the middle. Even if he's too wide, he's still a little bit tucked in behind the leaders, and he can kind of tip out at the top of the stretch. That's my hope.
He's as honest as they come. Paul, I'm disappointed. I'm shocked. I'm slightly embarrassed that as a New York bred, you don't have City Man anywhere, Paul. This might be a first time ever on this show. And Paul, we'll get to your opinion in just a second. I just wanted to point that out. This horse always runs. You got to give the Clements a ton of credit. This horse is as game can be. He always runs. He's a little more grindy. He's not necessarily, you see, like, there was no explosion through the inside, but he's sort of grindy. And if you want someone to get a good trip from the outside, there's nothing wrong with Joel doing it. Kyle, let's talk about the 10. I'm going to say this. I defaulted to this horse. I got to be honest. I had a very tough time with this race. Just look who Ivar has faced. Paul talked on who, like, Shantasara has faced. And Modern Games, Annapolis, Space Blues, In Love, Order of Australia, Raging Bull, holy crap. He is by far the class of the field. Kyle, the big question for me is the 1 1/8.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can see as you go down the entire list of the PPs, he's just a straight miler. He's a few in there, 1 mile and an 1/8 and a mile and a 16th, or 2 mile and a 16th. But, this horse has just been a dead straight miler basically its whole time for Paulo. But again, you can just see this horse, like Howard said about City Man, this horse is just as honest as they come. He gives his all every single time. Obviously, he's a 7-year-old, but his last 6 races, he's won 5 over 100 buyers. It's just, for me, it's going to be, can he have the trip and can he have the pace to run at in front of him, which is always the question of this horse. If, like you said, you could see back at Indianapolis. Now you can see he had that trip, and with that red early time form pace figure, and he did get up to win, but it's just a matter of, can this horse have the pace in front of him?
And the only 1 1/8 on the PPs was that Turf Classic. And Paul, we talked about that with Chad. That was the domestic spending Colonel Liam race, which was tremendous. He ran perfectly fine. He ran 97, lost by 2, but by the buyers, it was one of his worst buyers. You could take that for what it's worth. We got a lot of comments on the chat here. Christine Race had City Man. I mean, I had City Man last time, Paul. I think you had City Man too.
Oh, absolutely.
We liked him last time. He was the best looking horse that day on a track I'd seen in a long, long time. He was perfect with room for improvement. He was on Eagle's wings. Wow. Christine. Tom Espinoza. Tom, thanks for joining the show. Mentioned one more bid. He likes the work. This is going to be a big bomb. We can mention him a little bit later. A-Roth, thanks for joining the show. No wit, not for me. Not for Kyle, apparently. Sorry about that, Pletcher. Sorry about that, Mr. Pletcher. Of course, I didn't say that to him last night on the show. Somehow I didn't mention that, Paul. I don't know why. And then Michael Olson says, if Ivar runs back to the last two, this is over. Now, Paul, the astute Paul Halloran, you do not have Ivar. You do not have City Man anywhere in your pick 3. Please expound, sir.
Well, Ivar is a straight miler, as Howard pointed out, and you look at that big closing kick, and you're going to be waiting for him to close like that, and he's just not going to have the same punch going an extra 8th. City Man, I love the horse. I love the Clements. I loved them last time. I hit the exacta. Thank you, Decorated Invader, for coming back to get second. That was a huge exacta. Kyle, I think you can hope for a good trip. Yep. But you know what? I hope Santa Claus is coming more than once a year, and he typically only comes once. I think with Rosario on him, there's a good chance that he's just going to, from out there, if he doesn't break real sharp, take back, wait, go inside, and then make his run, and might be too late. I always root for the New York Breds. I have no problem if he beats me, but I think I don't like the post on the 12, and I don't like the distance on the 10. So that's my explanation, Howard.
I'll piggyback on the 12. Paul, I've never seen a more last time was the time horse in my entire lifetime than City Man. I am so against this horse on the top. And listen, I love the Clements, of course. I love to see them win. Paul, I just don't see it. If this horse wins, he gets another unbelievable trip, and a bunch of horses just didn't fire. I would be shocked. I wouldn't bet City Man anything less than 10-1 in this race. I just
you saw
this horse.
You showed the replay.
Yeah.
And he was going through the middle. He was not staying on the rail. He had visions of going through the middle. That closed. The horse that was on the inside drifted out a little bit, and that's when he tucked down and went up the rail. So it really was a wonderful trip, wonderful ride by Rosario. And having bet the horse, I'm really happy that he rode like that. But again, you bet every race the way it looks, and this, we'll talk about Witt. You guys mentioned I was the only one with Witt. Witt, I think, is the opposite. I think Witt gets a tremendous trip from in there. Is he good enough? He certainly didn't have as good a trip as the winner last time in the race out in California. That's without question. He did not have a good trip.
We'll discuss that in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Pletcher told you last night he had a bad trip, and you didn't say anything to him.
I was trying to be respectful.
Oh.
No, I mean, we'll talk about what he got. Well, I'm going to show that race because I've got.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we talked with Todd. I mean, again, he probably still has to step up, but as we mentioned in the interview, he really has become a different horse, a more consistent horse. Again, you'll hear. I was there on Belmont Day in 21. He was in the first race of the day. There was a buzz about this horse like you only hear at Saratoga when a horse is working bullets on the Oklahoma. And he absolutely broke 2 lengths behind the field and still won. And, he was going to be everyone's Derby horse for last year. But they had a lot of trouble getting him out of the gate. And they decided to work him on the Oklahoma turf last summer, and he worked his eyeballs out, and they just said, okay, we're running in the Hall of Fame. I was there for that race. He ran huge in that race against a good horse ready to perform, and he's been very consistent on turf. Is he quite as good as some of these horses? I'm not sure, but I do think as far as trip goes, I think he gets a much better trip than the 10 and 12.
Okay, and you're going with Lady Spitespear on top. Nick Feldman likes Lady Spitespear. This
wire to wire, Howard.
Okay. She's going to wire the
Saya's
field.
on
This
the
horse,
send.
she ran.
Saya's on the send.
Sorry, but she ran huge, Paul. Huge in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. And that race didn't fall apart because In Italian did finish second. But it held together to some extent, even though it was a slow pace. Or, sorry, a fast pace, which I don't know what to make of that, Paul. That's weird because maybe some horses didn't fire or whatever. But Lady Spitespear, if she runs the race that she ran last time, she's a major, major factor in this race.
And we don't talk about weights a lot, Howard, but one of our astute viewers put it in the chat. She gets 6 pounds less than her Breeders' Cup run, and she has at least 5 pounds less than every other horse in this field.
Yeah. No, she's good. My only concern with this horse, I think it's I like your pick here. I have Lady Spitespear right now. Actually, only is a C as in cat, but I might upgrade her. My only concern, Paul, is like where'd this race come from? Like she ran a hole in the wind out of nowhere. And now she's going to replicate that again. I mean, I suppose she can. That's my only concern, Paul. That race is very aberrational, no?
Well, I mean, you talking about Lady Spitespear?
Yeah. She got a 103.
Second to Bleecker Street, close to Bleecker Street, third to Regal Glory. Oh. I mean, she and then a grade 2 and a couple of I don't think she exactly. I mean, buyer wise, she stepped up.
Buyer wise is what I'm referring to.
Yeah, buyer wise, she certainly stepped up. But and Roger Atfield's good, as we don't have to tell anyone that. And isn't entering her in this race a big show of confidence when he could have entered her in the previous race?
Yes, no, that's a great point, Paul. And she gets weight.
Absolutely.
I'm probably going to upgrade her to like a B. I guess I want to see it again, Kyle. It's one of those things. I just want to see it again. Where's this speed going to come from? It's not wit. It's not good governance. Atone, I'd like to think Paul's going to go to the lead. Atone is my third choice. I think Atone, I'll talk about my top 2, but just since we're going numerically, I think Atone is very underrated. He doesn't get the job done, but if you look at this horse compared to this field, I think he fits, and I think Irad is going, guys. I think Irad is going to the lead. I don't know if he can wire this field, but I think that's the speed, Paul, of this race. I don't see Lady Spitespear getting the lead over Irad. That's just my opinion. We'll see what the plan is there. Hurricane Dream is the closer for Graham Motion. One more bid could also show some speed, but I don't think they'll be on the lead necessarily. And then you got Lady Spitespear. Speaking Scout is sort of more mid-pack, probably. Who's the Star? Definitely not. Deccan Raid Invader, Ivar. Masterpiece is a closer. So City Man Star. So the speed is really the 3 or the 6, probably, maybe the 5. Guys, we talked about Ivar. Ivar is a soft pick for me. I'm not going to go on about Ivar. We already talked about Ivar. I don't love him, especially at a low price. He's just tons the class. So that's where I went. I really like, here we go again. I don't like Speaking Scout on top necessarily. I really like Speaking Scout as my reverse key back wheel horse. Now, this is the horse, Paul, that beats Wit, and that's why I wanted to wait and show the replay. Full disclosure, I believe in honesty, guys. I got a win bet, just in case this horse is as good as I think. I have a win bet with Davy Lane. Again, for the people who know Davy Lane, he is a great punter in the UK, and you can do anti-post betting there. How about 25-1 on Speaking Scout? That's what I got. 25-1. I like it. I put a win bet on him. I also did a double. It's a parlay, but a double Speaking Scout into a horse into the Pegasus, which we'll talk about. I want to show the replay, and then we're going to move on to the Pegasus, guys. Let's look at the last race, and feel free to comment, Paul. Wit is the 9. Speaking Scout is the 10. I'm going to go basically to the end of the race. So let me freeze it right here. A little bit hard to see. Right here is Wit in the 9, right above the arrow. Speaking Scout is right here outside of the 2. We'll let it run. Speaking Scout got a decent trip. He's fine here. He is being asked. He's the 10. Here's Wit the 9. Wit had to go wide. There's no doubt about it. I have no argument. But Speaking Scout didn't exactly get a perfect trip. You see Speaking Scout is right here. And the jock wanted to go probably through this hole, guys. He's got to wait, tip out here. Again, here's Wit. who has already got full momentum pretty much. Here's Speaking Scout. Look at the elbow. You see he's going to angle him out here. Speaking Scout angles. He goes left-handed, and he's got to he gets bumped a little bit. You see he's on the wrong lead. He's got the one who's outside. He fights through. He's still on the wrong lead. Once he gets clear here, guys, he's going to switch leads right here, right there. He switches leads. Witt is never going by. Watch the gallop out. I feel very strongly about this, that Witt, here's Speaking Scout. Here's Witt. I mean, he's still galloping out. Now, if you want to say, Paul, this is because Witt was wide and maybe he got shuffled back and all that, that's fine. I don't think Witt wants this distance. I tried to mention that as nicely as possible with Todd last night. I think also, guys, look at the fractions that Speaking Scout has been running into. Blue. You cannot get a fast buyer running into slow fractions. These were blue coded races, which means the pace is not that fast, and he is still closing lightning fast into slow fractions. Now, I'm not saying the pace is going to be lightning fast on Saturday. Guys, this horse has upside. He can easily, to me, get a mid-90s buyer and be right there in the mix. I don't think he's going to win. This is a great horse to use underneath in second and third in your tries. Last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on. It's a motion horse, right, guys? He's been working with the other motion in this race, Hurricane Dream, who is a nice Group 2, Group 3 horse from Europe. He worked with them equally, if not better. I watched the work. Now, you could say, well, motion went to Dettori on the 4, and he's got Paco on My Horse Speaking Scout. Okay. How about Paco Lopez with motion, 21% on the win end, 50% in the money? Motion likes to use Paco, and Paco can ride. He drives us crazy at the time. He can ride. Anyway, I know people want to move on to the show. I've got a tone third. Any thoughts at all, Kyle or Paul? Did I convince you on Speaking Scout at least being in the mix? And if no, that's fine too.
Hawthorne Invitational Legend Speaking Scout, might I add. But yeah. I mean, look, the point is taken. I think the biggest point to take away from that for me is that cold pace fact, where we're talking about all these horses. Who's going to be the speed? Is it going to be Lady Spite Spear? A Tone might go to the lead, but there's it's only 2 of them. So they're looking to these races where there's not a whole lot of speed in the race, and this horse is still closing. So I think that's definitely an upside to this horse for sure.
Any quick thoughts on Speaking Scout, or am I just fishing for something that's not there?
I think if you want to make a point that Lady Rockstar is the next Secretariat because she had to go so wide the last time, you can't ignore the fact that Witt had to go so wide this time.
I just don't like the gap. I don't think Witt's a 1 1/8 horse though, Paul.
That could be true, and Todd kind of didn't disagree with you on that. That could be true, but she's got a much better chance. He's got a much better chance of getting the 1 1/8 from the inside than somewhere else. So
I think
we bet, Howard, just for the record, last night I had Palo Alto versus Channel Maker in a head-to-head with you, which we'll resolve later. And tonight it's going to be Witt versus Speaking Scout.
Double.
Let me get. Where's my wallet? Well, okay, absolutely.
So it was Channel Maker last night, right,
yes,
Kyle?
It was correct. Yeah.
Paul, I will say that the rail is going to work out well for Witt. He's going to save ground.
Well, he's in the rail. They tell you the post positions ahead of time. They're good like that.
No, I'm not saying I don't want to make the bet. I'm just simply saying that's a feather in your cap for sure. Oh. Absolutely. All right, guys. Let's get on to the last race. Woo. What's the last race? Well, I mean, come on. Let's go to the banners. There we go. Yeah. Come on, make some noise at home, everyone. This is the big one. He's flying. Paul's flying. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the Pegasus Classic. Pegasus World Cup. Here we go on the screen right there. $3 million. Used to be a lot more, of course, but nothing wrong with $3 million. $3 million is the purse. They're going 1 1/8. You see the field there. It's a field of 12. The morning line favorite, let me bring it down a notch. Sorry. There we go. The morning line favorite is the number 10, Cyberknife. Really nice horse. I had him in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Slightly disappointed me, but still ran big against Cody's Wish. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. Paul, we're going to go with you first. First of all, before we talk about details, your overall impressions of the field and the race, ball, before we get into details.
I think it is. I don't think it's a great field, but I think it is an extremely competitive field. Better than I thought when they were first talking about the probables, Howard. I think you and I were talking on the phone. I didn't think it was going to come up that. I don't think it came up that strong, but I think it came up very competitive, and I think we're in for a good race. And we'll talk about our picks later, but I won't have them. But I could not be rooting harder than I would be for Butchie Reed to win a race like this with riding with Biden. He is the best. He is a great guy in the Mid-Atlantic, based at Parks. Had Vequist, the 2-year-old female champion a few years ago. I will be rooting hard for riding with Biden, even though I won't have him on my ticket.
Kyle, just snapshot thought when you saw the field and the odds, etc.
No, I mean, absolutely. I think, like you said, I don't think this is a very, very star power headed Pegasus World Cup, but I think that it definitely presents a lot of betting opportunity, and you can kind of get really creative with a lot of these high odds horses, like, as we'll get into later, like just to name a few, White Abario, O'Connor and stuff like that. You can get a little bit, crazy, as they would say, with some. So it's definitely going to be a competitive race for sure.
Guys, I want to make this very clear to everyone listening and watching. And I'm right sometimes, I'm wrong sometimes. I have strong opinions. Can we stop ripping on this race because there's no superstar in the race? Okay, deal with it, folks. There's no Nick Sko. There's no Life is Good. There's no Arrogant. There's no Gun Runner. Deal with it. Some of the best horses that we've seen ever have retired. Life is Good retired. Flightline retired. Country Grammar is pointing to Dubai. I mean, this is a really good field for late January, guys. This used to be called the Don Handicap, Paul, of course, as you know. This is not only is it a good field, it's a great betting race, a fantastic betting race. I never see anything wrong with that. I'm a little bit bothered and annoyed by people who are saying there's no superstar in this race. Listen.
Well, there aren't. Well, there aren't.
There aren't, but you can't. But that doesn't mean you don't bet the race. There's less interest in the race, in my opinion.
Well, no one said that. We said it's a very competitive race, and there's no superstar. You just
not
said the
from
same
you guys.
thing.
Just to be clear, Paul, that my frustration is not from you or Kyle. It's from other things I've heard and just people whining that there's no superstar. And I don't.
Why would you pay attention to anyone other than Kyle and me?
Very good point. All right, guys.
Great point, Paul.
Let's go to the PPs here. All right. It's a 1.8 miles. It's not a short run to the first turn, but it's not a long run to the first turn at all. That's a factor. Closers do not do well at all in this race. They don't win for sure. Outside posts can be a problem. Sure, Gun Runner crossed over and won. People have won, but it's not. It doesn't usually happen. Outer posts are not good. Paul, we're going to you first. Speaking of not liking outer posts, the horse you're going with on top won't be wide at all. At least not on the first turn. You're going with Proxy on top, 9-2. This horse had his biggest win ever in the Clark. I liked him that day, if you recall from the show months back. He got the job done at 2.54 to 1. You're going back with Proxy in the Pegasus, Paul.
Yeah, and I looked at the race for a while, Howard. I was very close to defaulting to Cyberknife, but I knew we'd be the favorite, and I do think that in this, outside of the 8 in a 1.1 miles at Gulfstream, you are really up against it. It's a pretty short run to the turnout. It really is.
Yeah.
If you don't break, you are in trouble. So I think Proxy is in for, coming off the layoff, though that doesn't bother me at all with Stidham. I think he gets a good trip from the inside. He's in career form, starting his 5-year-old year. He beat the immortal Rich Strike last time. So how could I not take him?
He is very logical. He can absolutely win. He's logical. I'm sure Stidham has him ready. Kyle, we know Stidham very well. I mean, he's got a lot of national recognition now, as he should. Paul, you've got the 4 second. I've got the 4 on top. I struggled with this race. I don't want to sit there and tell everyone that I've got like the strongest feeling in this race. My stronger opinions I think I've made pretty clear. I like White Abario. I like the direction he's going, Paul. I sort of feel similar to this race that I feel in the turf that we just talked about. I like progressive horses that are improving, that are a bit unexposed. White Abario got a 99 last time in the Cigar Mile. I think they have taught this horse to sit a little bit, Paul, from what I have read and gathered, and he might need to sit a little bit in this race. I love the post, and he loves Gulfstream.
And I will tell you how I had a second and almost on top. I have HFC written on my PPs, 4 for 4 at Gulfstream. And we joke a lot about, quote, he's training very well, but this horse is really legitimately training very well. No joking aside. You look at the the bullet on January 6th, the bullet on January 13th, a real good last workout on the 20th. I got him as a B right now, Howard. That might change based on you liking him so much. I will not be surprised at all. And at least we know, Howard, if he does win, we're going to get paid, because I don't think he'll tick below like 7 or 8 to 1.
Two things. First of all, did you just compliment me and say because I like him, he might move to an A? Is that what you said?
Hey, Howard, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Wow. Much love, Paul Halloran. I've seen a lot of people like this horse. I don't think he's going off at 10 to 1. Yeah. I think he's going to be like a sneaky, wise guy, like 5 or 6 to 1, Kyle. I've just got a feeling it's Safi, it's Tyler G, Bullet works, loves Gulfstream, blah, blah, blah. Kyle, guess on his post time odds. I think it's going to be like 5 to 1. I think he's going to take a lot.
Yeah, I did look at it because, we all know how Safi is at Gulfstream, but it's White Abario, and obviously that 4 for 4 in Gulfstream is going to stare people right in the face. And, whether you're new or you're old or you're an experienced handicapper or you're brand new to Gulfstream for the Pegasus, it's going to stare you right in the face. I was thinking more like 6 to 1 is what I was thinking, probably post-time odds.
There's no way he's going to be 10 to 1. Paul and Kyle, I'm going to let you guys talk about Cyberknife. I have Cyberknife second. To me, this is the most logical winner. I mean, if you look at the PPs and you're not an experienced handicapper and you listen to all the talking heads that are out there that want to give like general picks, if you look at the green sheet, this just seems like the obvious choice. He's a very nice horse. Coxon Drew. This is his last career start. Some people like that maybe he's going to try harder. I never believe in that crap, but whatever. Some people think, he's going to be, really cranked. I don't know. Kyle, I'll let you talk first about Cyberknife. It's your top choice. Paul, please expound on that.
You are right. I agree. He's the most likely winner, but I pulled the Paul. I defaulted. This race was extremely tough for me. And like you guys said at the beginning, I know the outside posts are really tough in this type of race. I mean, you've looked at the last two, Life is Good, and other horses like that just run the lead in this race and go away. But this horse really has done nothing wrong. We talked about it really for the Breeders' Cup that we love the cut back to a mile in this race, which I think, could even suit this horse a little more. But you look back to the Arkansas Derby, granted, he had a lot of pace in front of him to run at. Obviously, Barber Road coming from getting second in that race should tell you exactly how much pace was in that race. But it's just really, I really do think he's the best horse and he is the most likely winner, but it is going to definitely be a treacherous post time on Saturday.
Here's Cyberknife. Here's, of course, the wonderful Cody's Wish. I was hoping Drew would bring him closer. Like, now they got close. I'm not sure that, Cyberknife really saw Cody's Wish until it was too late. It was a little bit of crying spilled milk, Paul, because that was the end of my BC run right there.
If
Cyberknife wins, I've got about $15,000. That's not a joke.
It's kind of ironic.
I know you feel awful about that.
Well, no, I'll tell you, it's ironic when I tell you this based on future developments, but I loved Cyberknife in that race.
Oh, you did? Okay, I don't recall that.
I was.
And
I was very happy to get beat by Cody's Wish.
Yeah.
But I loved Cyberknife in that race. But I got to tell you, he's very consistent. How the race he ran in the Travers was a big race,
no
losing doubt. To whom we hope is the 3-year-old champion. Epicenter. Yep. He got a lousy Giroux. The way the track was playing on Pennsylvania Derby Day, and I was there, Howard. That was a lousy ride. That you were not coming from sixth to win a race on that day. That he was in Cox. You know, he didn't say it quite as definitively, but he hinted that it was he was way not close enough. But I do think again, this is a difficult post in this distance.
No question, Kyle. By the way, I am aware of the time, and I'm gonna have you go off sooner. We'll take.
So we can start drinking before the show.
That's right.
Absolutely. If people are wondering, Bettin and Boozin in 25 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, right after the show. So please check it out with host Kyle Roscoe. It's gonna be an awesome show. If you're not familiar with Bettin and Boozin, please check it out. NFL Championship Sunday and some horse racing talk also. Guys, can we talk about the White Abarrio love and hate right now? Charlie Freeman, I just show this. Charlie's a co-host, does a great job with Kyle. Love of White Abarrio is my pick to win the Florida Derby. And then you go to A-Roth. A-Roth, take it easy. He's calling me a sucker, guys. He just called me a sucker, A-Roth. Come on, A-Roth. What are you talking about? Most overrated horse in training should be 50 to, I mean, I don't know if that's tongue in cheek. That's a silly comment, though, to be honest, A-Roth. But I mean, you could say you don't like him, and you can say he's overrated, but he's not going to be 50 to 1 in this race. Guys, I'm just going to make a quick comment, and then we're going to go to our pick fives. I mentioned Speaking Scout as a horse I love underneath for sure. There's a horse in this race, Kyle, I think you know who it is, that I love underneath. Can we talk about O'Connor for a minute?
No.
First of all,
I knew we'd have to talk about O'Connor. We were so close. We were so close to getting that. Can we talk about how poorly he ran last time when everyone loved him?
Let's talk about it. I thank you for bringing that up, Paul. I appreciate
no
that.
show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. O'Connor ran fantastic in his. May I finish, student? May I finish my thought? O'Connor ran great 2 starts back. I know that it was an allowance field, fine. He's got back class from Chile. I know Chile is not the U.S. This is a nice horse. This is a serious horse that everyone has been saying is a nice horse when he came to the U.S. Last time he lost, and I singled him. He was not good. Okay, I'm not going to show the replay, but he legitimately lost his shoe. Now he's got glue-on shoes. Actually, he didn't lose his shoe. It came loose. And all I can say, and I believe Safi when he said that, because this horse ran too bad to believe, and he still got 100 buyer, and I don't think he wants the inside. Guys, when your shoe comes half off, whether you just woke up in the morning, that's real uncomfortable, right? When you're walking around and your shoe is like half off, you rather have the whole shoe off. I think we'd all agree with that as a human being. It's the same for the horses. He was not comfortable. He did not run his race. He won 100 buyer. He ran 100 buyer. That is not far off of anyone in this field, and he did not run his best. He's going to get plenty of speed to close into. Javier is going to keep him in the clear. I'm not saying he's going to win, Paul. I think he will come from the clouds, and I think he's going to run a huge race. If he's 15, 18, 20 to 1 and gets second or third, you can apologize later. I even did a small, get this, guys. I did a small Speaking Scout O'Connor double. I was able to get that in Europe. I put $15 double. Speaking Scout to O'Connor. If it wins, I get $3,500 for a $15 bet. I'm not saying either one will win. O'Connor is fascinating to me underneath. Everyone listening and watching, don't listen to Paul Halloran. O'Connor is going to close big and run big for second or third. Final thoughts, guys, then we'll show our pick 5 tickets of the Pegasus.
No, just my thing. The one thing that obviously we didn't talk about too many horses in this race. I was really wishy-washy on the third. You can get really wishy-washy with all these horses underneath, like I said at the top. All these like bigger price horses you can really get. I didn't know really what to do with Defunded. I know there's a lot of love and hate with Defunded in the chat as well. That was it's third or fourth for me with Defunded. I don't know how he's going to do with all this pace pressure that he's going to be. Granted, he had a lot of it last time, but like I said, it'd be third or fourth for me.
Paul, any thoughts on Defunded or Art Collector? We don't mean to give horses short shrift. I really don't love either one of them. I think there's a lot of speed in this race. I know Defunded's had minor issues breaking I mean, he breaks fine, but he's not like a shot out of the gate. I'm sure with IRAD he will. I'm totally against Art Collector in this spot, Paul. Like totally.
Yeah, I noticed I didn't have Art Collector in my ABC grid. And I know A-Roth is all over us for not having defunded it, and I know it's Baffert, but and those are two good races. I don't know what he beat Country Grammar, so we'll have to give him credit for that. Slow down, Andy. I don't know. Maybe the 1.125 is right for him because he was dreadful in the San Diego and more dreadful in the Pat O'Brien. So I don't know. He can beat me. You can't play him all.
I'm using him. I mean,
I got him as a C.
I think our collector needs his own way, and I think he's facing a better field. And my last comment on Proxy, and then Kyle, we're going to do your pick 5, and I'll let you go off the show here.
Yep.
My final thought on Proxy is last time is the time. Proxy is my city man of this race. He can win. I'm using him defensively, Paul. He's not going to be second at first call. I can tell you that in this race. He's going to have to come from behind. He ran a big race in the Foster when he came from behind. That race might win him this race. I'm using him. I just don't love him at the price. That's my opinion of this race. It's a fantastic race. It's a great race. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to give our pick 5 tickets. So get your pencils and paper out. We're going to give our pick 5. I know we only went over 3 races, but we're going to give our pick 5 tickets right now. Kyle, I'm going to have you go first. And before I do that, real quick again, Crowns Way Racing is a sponsor of tonight's show. Tony Rollo, they do a fantastic job. It's only $500 to buy into Crowns Way Racing. We'll talk more about them in the next month, everyone. Again, there's the information on the bottom of the screen. Anthony Rollo at crownswayracing.com. They have fantastic horses. There's great people. Kyle, I'll let you expound on them later because we got to get you going. You've got the shirt. But again, Crownsway Racing, information down below. Check them out. They're a new sponsor. All right, let's go to our pick 5s, guys. Kyle, I'm going to have you go first, and then we'll let you get ready for your show here. Where are my pick 5 tickets? Here they are. Okay, Kyle. Kyle is going to go. Let me take. There we go. Kyle's going 369 with 1679 with 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 12 with 2, 10, 12. It's a $90 ticket. Real briefly, talk about your ticket, Kyle.
Yep, and people can, when I leave, people can talk behind my back and call me stupid for singling Wakanaka. I'm going big balls, whether you trust me or not. That's on you. But hey, look, the first leg is Paul Alto. I know that's Paul's horse. I got Temple in there is a little bit of a price, and then Value Engineering, who's Howard. Stop picking that race. And the Hooper, the Hooper's really weird. I mean, you have that Chad Brown horse that's really coming off that massive layoff, which is the one, but Chad Brown's got obviously nuts numbers. The 2 speed horses, 6 and 7, and then endorsed 11. Like I said, I'm singling Wakanaka, and I don't care what anyone thinks about it. This horse could really get a nice trip, and as long as the speed it holds up, but doesn't hold up too well, I think Wakanaka sits a really nice trip in that race. And the World Cup turf, God, dude, I don't know. That's again a tone I added in there, and a bunch of other horses you can go through. The only horse I might add is I might take off Hurricane Dream, Lady Spitesphere. Again, these last 2 races for me are going to be completely dependent on how the track is playing, not only through the single day, but through the whole weekend, where I might add, take away the 4 who's closing. Paul's raising his hand. I'll get to him in a second. I feel like Howard now. But then Lady Spitesphere I might add in there. And then with the last race, I might add Defunded instead of Simplification, depending on the pace. Paul?
I would just like to say that the budget police are going to come after you, Howard, because Kyle, that's a $108 ticket.
Is it? Is my math crap? My math is crap.
Oh my!
3 times 4, 12. It is 50, 180, 90. Really?
12 times 6 is 72, right?
Oh yeah,
6,
my
72 and 3 is
260. Whatever. They come after me. Paul's favorite budget police. But
unbelievable.
Again, people know me if you've been fans of the show. I play small tickets, but a day like this is where I have myself the ability to play larger tickets. The budget police are calling for me, which is why I gotta go. But
yeah, Kyle, you're booted off the show. You went over 100. Please watch Kyle's show. We're going to be ending in 10 minutes. Please watch Kyle's show, Bettin and Boozin, 9 p.m. Eastern, NFL Championship Sunday, and pick 4 for Friday at Gulfstream. Kyle, thanks a lot, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye-bye. All right, there's Kyle. Paul, here we go. Paul's pick 5. This could very easily be a big pick 5. These pick 5s are going to pay, Paul. I have a feeling we're going to get a big pick 5.
I agree.
This Saturday. 349 with 16 with 239 with 169 with 1410. It is a correctly computed $81 ticket. Explain yourself, Paul.
Well, we talked last night. I do like that Palo Alto. He's the 3. Aban is the 4. I'm using because he does have the potential to go wire to wire. And my 3rd was Temple. The second leg, I upgraded Miles D. I kind of talked myself into him when we were talking. Anyone who saw last night's show. And Black Belt is really a price play for me. Although he's not a huge price. What is he, 6?
I think I saw 6.
I think it's about 6. Yeah, so not
it's gonna be less now with Hoist.
Good point.
A lot less.
And then I have Wakanaka, who I like the best, but I did use Delika, especially with the pace scenario now, and I'm not letting Chad beat me, so I have Shanta Sarah in there. And then in the next race, I'm using Wit. I'm using Lady Spite Spear, and I'm using Decorated Invader, Howard. And I think Decorated Invader is probably more of a board horse, but boy, talk about showing up, right? And I thought she ran pretty well last time. He ran pretty well last time. I'm gonna use the Clement there. And then I have what I consider the 2 logicals, Proxy and Cyberknife. And in case our guy White Barrio Howard wants to improve to 5 for 5 at Gulfstream, I said, you know what? I'm going to throw the HFC on the ticket.
Paul, I've never seen so much different opinions on one horse, I think, in the history of this show. I mean,
it's good.
All over the map with White Barrio. It's going to be
interesting.
Here's my pick 5, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Be ready to write this down. If this comes in, this has a chance to pay 5 figures, and I'm not even joking about that because I'm throwing some horses in there. Everyone knows I play an ABC ticket where I weigh my opinions differently. But if I were to play a caveman, here's what it would be, ladies and gentlemen. I am going 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 with 1, 2, 6, 9, 12 with 3, 7 with 7, 10 with 4, 10 on the end. That's $100 play. It's 5 by 5 by 2 by 2 by 2. It is $100. I couldn't find a single, first of all. There's no way I'm singling Shanta Sara. Absolutely no way. And I really couldn't find a single anywhere in this sequence. I would, in the 3rd leg, I like Speaking Scout quite a bit. That's in the 4th leg, sorry. I probably wouldn't use Speaking Scout equally with Ivar, to be honest, but in a caveman, I will. I love Lady Rockstar in race 11, the filly and mare race. I would absolutely use her equally. I have Wakanaka on there right now. I might change that to Delika. I wanted to say I didn't change my bet before we knew about the scratch of Bay Storm. I might go 2-7, ladies and gentlemen, in the 3rd leg. I want to make that very clear to everyone. And in the and I'm using Ivar and Speaking Scout if I had to go light. And then in the last race, my logicals are White Barrio and Cyberknife. I'm using Proxy. I'm going to use very defensively O'Connor in case something weird happens and it falls apart and he runs as well as I think. I don't like Defunded. I don't like Art Collector. I definitely don't like Simplification. I don't think Skippy can do it again. There's a lot of horses in the Pegasus I don't like, to be honest, Paul. So I don't think I'm going real deep in that race. There is my pick 5 ticket. And here's the surprise for everyone. And to end the show here, of course, we've got Bettin and Boozin coming up, right? Here you go, Paul. Look at the bottom of the screen. Howard's locks for this Sunday. I'm going Philly -2.5. The Brock Purdy love will be over this Sunday. It's a great story, but Philly is healthy. They're going to roll, I think. Actually, they're going to win by 7 to 10 points. I really like Philadelphia at home in this spot, and I like San Francisco in general. Tom Espinoza, sorry. I got to go. Fly, Eagles, fly on Sunday. And even more so, Paul, I love Cincy. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be the world champions. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I've got mad love for Joe Burrow. I think Kansas City is a little bit soft. I think Cincinnati's physical. They're going to find a way to limit Mahomes. And I just absolutely, and Kelsey is really good, but I think Cincinnati's on a roll right now. I'm going Cincinnati on the road into Arrowhead and to win. And you know what, if I'm wrong about these picks, Paul, I could say, well, I'm just a horse handicapper. What do I know about the NFL? And if I'm right, people are going to say, wow, you should tip out more NFL games. So, Paul, the way I see it, I'll be in a good spot either way.
You know what? I'm with you on both of those, Howard.
You are? Okay.
I am. I agree. I think Purdy's been great, but I think playing on the road in Philly is an entirely different animal than sorry. The playing in Philly is different than playing at home. The only thing I don't like about this is, Cincy is the version of the wise guy horse. Everyone likes Cincy. Look at the line, a 1-point line, at Arrowhead.
Jim Flowers on the bottom. Cincy getting way too much credit for being a flawed and overrated. Jim, a hatred for your own Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, well, wow. I mean, but let me say this: that was a domination. That was a domination of Jim Palazzo's Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
but
it was.
That's the only thing I'm concerned about, because the wise guy horse, we know, never, ever, ever wins. So let's hope Cincy is not the wise guy horse. But I'm with you on both. We can bet the Eagles first and see what happens for the second game.
Paul, I want to publicly thank you. You put in a lot of time and a lot of work, as has Pete Visco this week. But again, shout out to you, Paul, for helping us get Todd Pletcher, the interviews out there on our YouTube channel. If you haven't seen the Todd Pletcher interview, it's fantastic. He gives us great insight. Paul, it's going to be a fantastic card on Saturday. I can't wait for it. I'm going to be all in on many different bets and the contests and everything. Paul, final thoughts. I'll let you end the show.
Well, I just encourage everyone to watch the Eclipse tomorrow night, the Eclipse Awards. It's much better than you're going to see in the Oscars on March 12th. Who the hell cares about the Oscars? We get to see the top horses and humans in our sport. And, we, as I said, Howard, regardless of what happens in the trainer race, we will say that we had the Eclipse winning trainer on the show in the last year, because it's going to be Chad Brown or Todd Pletcher. I really think it's going to be Pletcher. I really do. I was texting Tom Law because Tom kind of connected me with Todd, and he said he brought up a good point. Todd Pletcher's in the Hall of Fame, and last year might have been his best year. So, but that's a good race. The 3-year-old male, there's some good races out there, and they'll end the show with Flightline getting the kudos he deserves in his connection. Yep. So I will certainly be watching, and I hope everyone else is too.
Yep. And then, of course, watch us 3:45 Eastern from the Crazy Poor OTB this Saturday, live analysis and reaction of the Pegasus card. And then, of course, tonight in 8 minutes, get yourself a beverage, use the bathroom, and then go watch Bettin and Boozin on our YouTube channel.
I'm going to do that.
Host Kyle Roscoe, co-host Charlie Freeman, and Patrick Kunzel. For my wonderful co-host, Mr. Paul Hallernover, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 225 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Everyone smash those bets this Saturday. It's Pegasus Day at Gulfstream Park. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.